I'm sick and I'm not really feeling up for making a video, so we're gonna rip through this one. This is Conquest Sector 1. We're looking at which squads we're using for the feats, the amount of feat progress we were making through the first sector, looking at the data disks and wrapping up with the boss nodes. We're going to do this a little bit more streamlined today because I just don't have the energy to really break this down the way that I have in the past, but that honestly might be better because I don't really think these videos have been working. For our global feat progress, we've actually made quite a bit. We're completely done with profit. That's all thanks to Maz. She trivializes it. If you don't have Maz, I'd have to look at the rest of the pirates and how profit works with them, but you might just not want to do that one altogether. Evasion down, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's made pretty easy between the pirates and a number of other squads. A lot of options for evasion down, and you can see we're almost done with evade at least 200 attacks. That is all thanks to Qui-Gold, who's going to be very valuable in this conquest, so be careful with the stamina there. And then the rest of these will make more progress as we go along, but you can see with Galactic Republic we've already got a couple and the rest we haven't touched upon. At the end of Sector 1 I have fully completed full tanks and Brutus, and I was essentially done with Stagger. If one or two things goes a little bit differently, I finished Stagger in a single playthrough this sector. You can see I only have 18 out of 50 with bonus turn, but most of you by now will be aware that Gungans can complete that in 2 battles, and for me, I did Gungans on the Datacron node in 1 battle, wrapped it up. But I like to, as my philosophy and approach to Conquest, try not to use any of those unrelated teams unless I have to. I'm trying to use only teams that are working on multiple feats simultaneously, which I guess the Gungans technically do with Stagger, but they're not great at it. And now you can see we are technically done with that bonus turn battle. Even got a Datacron out of that node when I did it. Sector 1 squads, I was leaning on 3 of these. We have our Pirate Squad, and then we have 2 options for full tank squads, one with the Jedi, one with the Rebels, the Jedi being the superior of the 2. Now, Pirates we had to change a little bit from my original plans in that overview video because they moved that buff immunity feat that I was expecting to be in this sector to Sector 2, and instead bonus turns that we thought from the data mine was in Sector 2 was brought to Sector 1. But that was also kind of okay because there's synergy there with Brutus. Brutus, as long as you time it with his threatening manner ability, he does get a bonus turn if he is taking multiple buffs. If he steals 2 or more buffs, then he takes a bonus turn. You can get that off a few times per battle. It's not always reliable, depends on who you're going up against. Better if you're going up against light side squads that have more buffs. I very often was going up against dark side characters. That's why we didn't get as much progress there as would have been preferred. We also, though, get a Stagger with SM33, and it's actually a Stagger on Basic, which maybe I could have leaned on a little bit more. This is where I could have got that 59th instead of 59. We could have hit that 60th Stagger had I used this a little bit more, but it's not really the damage ability. The damage is limb from limb, and the recovery is forearm bucklers, so I was using those a little bit more to make sure that SM33 was surviving these battles, plus he's one of my better pirate characters. Maz also has bonus turns with Keeper of Secrets, but or not Keeper of Secrets, when you deplete all the profit, it comes from Ancient Wisdom here. It's this last one here with whenever an enemy loses all 5 stacks of profit. That's not super reliable through these battles. You're usually going to win the battle before that happens in most cases. Now the rest of your options for the Pirate Squad, I left out Ethano because I wanted to use Ethano as a future leader, and I didn't use Silver or Vane because we're using them in Sector 2, which is why I brought Qui-Gold here, even though Qui-Gold is going to be very important in Sectors 3 and 4, maybe even later. Qui-Gold helps with blind, and Qui-Gold is required in one of those sectors. So you I thought it was okay to use him in Sector 1 because there'd be time for him to recover stamina. But he is a character you want to be very careful with to not deplete him too much like I have with these other characters. And I kind of already regret bringing Maz and SM33 this low. Because in Sector 2, so far, Ethano hasn't been a great lead. That might partly be because I have 3 stars in Gear 12 on Vayne. Our first full tank squad, I took them down to 50%. You can see they've recovered a bit. But this is valuable. One, these are very survivable characters that are going to do well, but Obi-Wan, he does evasion down on basic. This is how I was able to complete so much of the evasion down feat. I was just calling him for assists with every inherited teaching. Every possible assist call was on Obi-Wan. The other thing that was very valuable and how we made most of that stagger progress was with Juhani. Remorseful Thrash is an AoE stagger, but you have to first be under stealth. So I was usually using Beautiful Provocation to taunt so that the stealth trigger could happen, and then I would use the Remorseful Thrash to get those staggers. So you have to be a little bit careful, but I have a Gear 12 Johnny and I was able to accomplish it. You just have to be a little deliberate with it. Our Rebel Tank Squad, we bring back Obi-Wan for the evasion down, so throughout all of that we are getting a lot of progress on that global feat. And then we also have 2 staggers, but they're targeted staggers. That's why this team is not as good as the Jedi version. They take a little bit longer to make progress. Leia has it with Rebel Ambush, and Zeb has it with his staggering sweep ability. The cooldowns are fast enough where you can get those off a couple times per battle on each character, maybe a few times. Really, maybe 2 to 3 times with Zeb, 2 times with Leia, because Leia starts taking people out. Those were the only 3 squads I used on sector feats. Well, except for Gungans, of course. The Gungans do a crazy amount of bonus turns. I just recommend doing that at the end. That way you're able to see how much progress you're able to make with the rest of the feats on the other characters. But bonus turns, completely easy in 2 battles with the Gungans. But if you do it my way, you do it in a battle, you save a little bit of energy. Data discs. This section we're doing differently, partly because I'm not feeling well, partly because I didn't grab the footage. But in the past, what we've done is I have gone through each node, looked at my choices, and talked about my thought process behind them. That, I think is one of the clunkier parts of these videos, so we're just going to cut this down. We're just going to talk about what I have, what I'm using, what I like about them. Ruthless Offense, this I think is a good single dot, very easy to trigger. It's going to make your team more effective. Fall below 100% health, offense stacks, very reliable. Defensive Formation, this is the recovery of protection one that I like. There's other versions of this with buffs, with crits. I like this one because a lot of teams attack out of turn. It's very cheap and easy to throw onto a larger set of more expensive discs. It makes teams like Gas function very well, where that team has a lot of attacks out of turn. It makes Gas a little bit more resilient and stand up longer. Hone Skills, this is because I didn't have a better choice, so I just grabbed it. That'll be replaced at some point. I could do it right now because one of the options we have, well, we'll get to it. Zealous Ambition, these are great. You got to be careful with them though, because you can mess up your ability to get feats by having them because they take characters out too quickly. Fortified, just adding that resilience, that survivability, that's great. I also have a Leader's Resolve. This one I could put on, but I haven't yet because it messes with things. I'll just put it on. One thing I want to add though, I also like Defensive Formation because I like to build sets of attack out of turn discs because I like to pair that with Blindside. Blindside adds Expose if you do an attack out of turn, or we have Booming Voice. That is a popular, I'm not sure if CG is giving us one of those, but you can build very powerful attack out of turn synergy, and it's something I usually try to build if CG is giving us the discs. Boss nodes, I'm going to show you a few different versions. I've got a pirate version. I've got 2 different Jedi Vanguard versions in case you don't have like Jedi Master Mace Windu, but you also don't need to do any of that because it is possible to do both of these feats in a single battle, but that is not footage that I captured. That's not how I handled it. Because that is something that didn't occur to me in the moment, and I heard about it after the fact. I used the pirate team that I was using throughout this sector, or not throughout. We made a couple changes, but we got Kix, we got Quaggold, we got Brutus, we got everybody we need. The way that I played it was I wanted to ignore crew as much as I could. You can see like we're throwing out the blind with Quaggold. All these attacks are going to be helping those global feats with the evades. But crew's going to take a while, so I want to get rid of those buffs. I try to steal the buffs. You see I didn't get enough because they weren't stealable. Not all of them were stealable ones. So I didn't get the bonus turn at that moment. I want to take out Kelkestis first, because Kelkestis has mechanics that are keeping this squad alive. And by taking him out, the rest of the characters are going to be easier to take out. Land a couple big hits. It takes a little bit of time to take out Cal, but as soon as he's gone, the rest of the team is going to fall apart. We dispel. We remove more profit. This is going to be a good battle for Mazkanata and getting those bonus turns. You can see that time we stole buffs, stole enough buffs, so we got that bonus turn with Brutus. Keep in mind that I do not have full stars on Quaggold, Kix, or Brutus. They're Relic 3, I think, but 5 stars. So there's the first takeout on Quaggold. Healing immunity stuck over there. Kelkestis almost down. Now I'm going after JTR, but at this point it could be JTR or Ahsoka. Now we've lost Quaggold, but this is why Kix is valuable, but even though Kix is required for the node, but Kix brings him back immediately. Remove more profit. There's a bonus turn. We removed it from somebody. Land a big hit over on Fulcrum. Fulcrum should be down in this moment. They had the buffs, so I went to steal them to get the bonus turn to keep making sure I'm working on that sector feat. That's why even though the offensive attack would have been an option, I took that bonus turn first before I did the attack. This, though, is probably an opportunity where I could have been using the basic. Like right there, I should have gone to the basic. Get that extra stagger that SM33 has. And we have handled it. Pretty easy. There are ways to optimize some of the mechanics, though. Next up, we're going to do Jedi Master Mace Windu, but afterwards we will do we will do Kelleran lead in the event that you don't have Mace Windu. Just so you can show that either way you're going to be fine. It's going to be a little bit faster and easier using Mace, but he's such a new character that's not going to be available to everyone. Even though Maz most people aren't going to have, but this is an opportunity to talk about that. You should be prioritizing getting all new characters immediately. Now, probably most of you who are on this channel are going to have the latest Conquest characters, because if you're watching Conquest videos on a small YouTube channel, you're probably taking it pretty seriously. Let's see, same kill order. We're taking out Kelkestis first. But the reason why you want to get your Conquest characters immediately is Conquest builds on the newest releases. So the last Conquest release is part of the feats of the next Conquest. That has been a long established pattern. Now, it's never been to this degree. I would say this is a little bit more than we've seen in the past, where it's going to be quite a bit easier if you have mods than if you don't. But it's a rule that applies. Kelleran squad, I am using Jocasta Nu. Plo is here for the extra turn meter. We have a Dispel from Shakti, and then the Temple Guard to provide the tanking. .2x speed on this one. Same deal. We're playing all of these the same. We're just ignoring crew, dispelling if we have to, then getting all of our attacks over onto Kelleran. Get a little turn meter from Plo. A couple more turns until we hit the rifle. There is a dispel on Plo's basic as well, so you can spread the basics from Plo and Shakti around to control buffs a little bit. I opt for the buffs or debuffs from Plo's AoE there. Now we have to deal with a little bit of ability block, which was not ideal. It's kind of slowing down this interaction. But now the big rifle attack, and from here it's over. There's damage immunity on Ahsoka, so we go after JTR. Rifled. Now these basics are just taking out characters. Call an assist on a Jocasta to get that big hit in. So both leads, very easy. I don't even know if there's enough of a difference to say one was easier. Final boss node. This is a fun thing that CG did, bringing back the old raid characters and also requiring us to use specific teams that the community was using to beat these raids back in the day. Now, with the Rancor, we're using turn meter removal squads to control the Rancor. The first feat requiring these characters, you do want to use Teebo lead because Teebo lead has a chance to gain stealth, and that is very important because if Teebo is stealth, then Teebo removes 100% turn meter on basic. That is very powerful in controlling the Rancor. And I'll show you my stats. Very slow, speed 118, not very important. Did not give him good mods because he's a character I don't use, and characters I don't use, this is where I store mods that might be valuable in the future. In this case, all percent and no speed in case we get future characters like that. Now Jyn Erso, her speed is probably a little bit more relevant. Mine is at 293. I did not do any modding differences, but what is valuable is her truncheon strike. This removes all turn meter. This is another 100% turn meter removal. And then you can also use this to swap a turn. You can swap back over to Teebo or a different character. You can swap to Teebo, remove turn meter. Just pay attention to what's going on. And then we have Qui-Gon, who I don't even think I used correctly in the footage. He has removed turn meter on his basic. We have TIE Fighter Pilot. I imagine TIE Fighter Pilot is here for the tenacity down that's on the basic, which I don't even think I used correctly, because you can resist turn meter removal. So by having the tenacity down, you are ensuring that the turn meter removal happens. And then we have Royal Guard, who is a tank but also has speed down, and that speed down has a chance to just slow down the Rancor a little bit so that you get these attacks off. Now before we get into the footage, because we're just going to do all of this up front, we have my Commander Luke. Just want to show you my speed. He is at 316, so mine is pretty quick, and that is so you can use the Force ability to remove turn meter cycle through, but he also on his basic has a turn meter removal as well. So between those two abilities, you're able to very effectively control the Rancor, and that used to just be an auto solo. We will jump into the footage. I have it on 2x right now, so this is going to go pretty quick. You can see I used the second special to remove turn meter. I'm using specials on Qui-Gon, which is a waste. I am swapping over to Teebo, who goes under stealth. Should have used basic there, but I didn't look at the mechanics before, and most of this is just going to be Jin and Teebo. I stealth, we get a turn, I use a basic. Now we got that tenacity down. Swap back to Teebo, removing that turn meter, keeping that tenacity down, and it's over pretty quickly. And with CLS, remember the mods were shown up at the front right after I showed Teebo's mods and everything. He is at 316 speed. Remove the turn meter, swap. If you are too slow, you might not be able to do this. So if you are struggling, just remod. And we will wrap it up there. We'll have 2 videos up in the corner. One's going to be the overview, just in case you guys are ahead of me and want to see how I'm approaching the later sectors. Just keep in mind that maybe some of those feats have changed since the original data mine. I haven't seen the later sectors yet. And down below, the Datacron video that I put out. The Datacron video, just to give yourself a reminder of which ones you want to be going for, although I would note that I have changed my opinion on the First Order Stormtrooper Kron. That should not be in the bottom tier. It's more of a middle tier Kron. The defensive results on it have been quite effective. Quite effective. And we will wrap it up there. We will be back with Sector 2 pretty soon after this one. I want to try and get ahead of you guys, so I like to push through these. Thank you for watching. Be acting to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.